This tutorial will cover how to publish to social media. The steps involved are to write your message, select your social media accounts, attach a link and/or video or photo, tailor how you want this to look in the social media feeds, and finally you're going to schedule and publish. First, let's type in a test message. Note that you can add links to your message field. However, your primary link should always be added as an attachment, because that is what's going to be added as an attachment to the social networks. Also, any links that you add to your message field that our system detects will have tracking code added to them, and they will be shortened automatically. Next, we're going to add accounts. To add accounts, click on this button, and then add all the accounts you want. To remove them, simply click the X. Now we're going to attach a link. There's two ways to do this. You can simply use your company homepage, which is your default link that you set up in account preferences, or you can attach an external link or just a different link on your website. When you click Update Preview, it's going to pull in information from that page that you can preview on the right. Now let's attach a video or a photo. The options here are we can actually record a video, which will use our PC cam to record a quick status update and then syndicate that to YouTube first. Once you confirm the YouTube upload, then it will syndicate to the rest of your social media accounts. You can upload a video, which does a similar thing, and I'm going to show you some of the options here. You would select your video. It's going to upload that and process it, and once it's processed, you'll see a thumbnail on the right, and that allows you to rotate the video if you happen to record it sideways. So now that it's ready to publish, you can see here, you can just click this button and make any changes you need. Once it's done processing, you'll see how it looks. And notice up here, it's replaced the share preview with that thumbnail. Of course, you can add SEO, video descriptions, and things like that. Also note that it's going to automatically add whatever link you have up in the Attach a Link section will automatically be shortened and given a custom YouTube tracking code and added to the beginning of your video description. And that's done for SEO purposes as well as to track what people are doing with your video. If they click on that link and buy something, it's going to show up in your reporting. If they click something and download a white paper, for example, then you'll see that a lead was acquired from that video. You can also add the video directly to a Sociamonials campaign, and it will add it to the rotation when those videos are scrolling on the page. You can add an external video, and to do this, just simply add the YouTube video information. Be sure to check the question mark here. It gives you some tips on how to make sure that that video is going to be shown within the news feed of your social network. Finally, you can upload a photo, and it's as simple as that. Just click Browse and find a photo on your hard disk drive, and it will upload that. Keep in mind, though, when you upload a photo, it's also going to add it to Twitter, and that's why you see this here. There are other ways of changing the photo that appears up here by the Pepsi Pulse. So when I deselect this, let me show you how to do that right now, because that's a common question that we get. So if, let's say I'm not attaching a video or a photo, I just want to attach a link, and I want to change this image. What I'm going to do is go to Edit Attachment, and here's the link that I found. I can either scroll through the different images that I found on the Pepsi website, or I can click the Upload Image button here, and that will simply upload the image that is shared on LinkedIn and Facebook. But it's not going to attach a whole separate image to Twitter, which can be annoying to your followers if all it is a simple thumbnail that just accentuates whatever the link is that you have that would normally be on Facebook and LinkedIn. So only attach a photo to your tweet if it's something that's of intrinsic value to your viewers. So up here, getting back to the edit attachment, you can do several things. Let's say we don't want to say Pulse. Notice that whatever we do here is reflected up here. For Facebook, they allow a subtitle. So let's say Best Cola Ever. And you can see how that will look. You can also modify the link description. And what this allows you to do is all of your posts will look just the way you want them to look. instead of having Facebook just grab whatever they want to grab. I'm also going to edit my message. And what this does is it's going to add whatever I want to the end of the posts for each of these social networks. Because some people want to have a separate language that they use with Facebook connections, LinkedIn connections, and tweets. So what I want to do here is at the end of my Facebook post, I might have a more appropriate call to action to say like this. And at the end of LinkedIn, maybe I'll say share with colleagues. Moving down to the tweet, we can preview this and also edit it. So what I can do is I can add a hashtag anywhere I want. So let's call this hashtag Pepsi, hashtag Cola. And just make sure you're not over the number of characters available, and all is well. Now I'm going to move on to scheduling. I can send this right away, or I can send this at an optimal time. And the way this works is it will automatically pop in the next optimal time. Or you can click the calendar and select one yourself. So it looks at the next 2 days. The darker colored cells are the best time to send based on click-throughs. If you want to optimize for sale conversions, or if you're sharing a white paper, you might choose to optimize for lead conversions based on all of the information Sociamonials has gathered since you've started. It actually goes back only 3 months. So for the last few months of data that it's aggregated, it will optimize your post time. So right now we have today. You can also look over the next 2 days. So I'm going to choose to do this tomorrow at the most optimal time and have it email me when the message is published. You can also just schedule it later if you have a very specific time where you want to send this. You can do that and just adjust the time here. Click outside of this area and you'll notice that your publish time is here. So for this demo, I'm going to click now, and when I click publish, it's going to upload this. So let's do that. And notice what happens once it confirms the post. At the top of the screen, you'll notice in the green verification screen, it's going to provide you with a link. The verification report is very powerful. This allows you to instantly see that the social networks have sent us basically a receipt and a verification that the message was posted. If you'd like, you can actually click on the View Live Post and see it on the live site. So here's our shortened link, and here are the hashtags that we added to our tweet, for example. Now let's take a look at the Message Manager at the top right of the screen. The Message Manager helps you save quite a bit of time when creating new messages. It also allows you to manage messages that have already been sent or scheduled. So we're going to click on Message Manager. The first screen we will arrive at is the Sent folder. You'll notice we've had 165 sends through our test account. And here's a list of all the sends, sorted by the most recent to the oldest. So this functions in several ways. I mean, one of the things that this does for you is gives you an archive of all the messages you've sent in the past. Another thing it does for you, it allows you to create a new message off a message that has been sent in the past. So if I go back to an old message and I want to send it again, here's an old test message. I'm going to highlight that and click Open as Copy. Saves me a lot of time in several ways. All of the customization I put in on the preview and edit is already ready and set here. All of the accounts that I selected have been selected here, and all of the links and attachments are already done, and of course the message is already typed out. So let's say I want to send something every day, but maybe change the tweet slightly. So what I can do is just open it as a copy, the last one I sent, and just make the slight tweak here. Let's change this to 2. So now I can resend this immediately or schedule it for the future. And it's as simple as that. Instead of having to retype it out and reselect all of the social accounts, it's already ready to go. So going back to the Message Manager, I'm going to leave this page and not send this. I'm going to show you the second thing you can do within the Sent folder. Let's highlight the message we sent in the previous example, and I'm going to click on Verification Report. This should be familiar. This is the same verification report that was generated after I posted the message before. And the reason this is nice to have here is I can go back to an old message and generate a verification report on that as well. So if somebody claims that this never was posted to a social account, you've got your verification report that you can create and verify that it was in fact sent. third but not least, change a link is a very powerful feature. Because Sociamonials manages all of your links and tracks those links, we have the power to change a link that has already been posted to a social network, even if it's been shared 1,000 times. Each one of those shares will have the correct link if I had made a mistake previously and used this utility. So let me give you an example. Let's say the message we just sent, I accidentally entered the wrong URL, so it was going to a broken page. So instead of that being a pretty devastating scenario, I can go to change a link and change it. So notice there are two different URLs here. The reason you see that is I sent to LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter. It always shows the tweet as a separate link because you have the control within the publishing utility to use a different link for Twitter than you use for Facebook and LinkedIn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it in both. So instead of Pepsi, let's say I meant Coca-Cola. I can change that by typing here and then click Save. Now all of the links that have been syndicated will resolve to Coca-Cola. The second folder is Scheduled. This shows us any message that hasn't yet been sent because it's been scheduled into the future. If you have a multi-user account and let's say you're a sub-user and your supervisor has to approve it, if you sent a message immediately that needs to be approved, it will also show up in the Scheduled folder, waiting to be approved. So as you can see, I had scheduled a post previously. You can see when this is scheduled to be sent. This is a time and date in the future. You can see what the message is, and if you are the supervisor or the individual who posted it, you can always highlight this and edit it or delete it. Moving on to the drafts folder, you can see all the messages that have been saved as a draft. And of course you can highlight, edit, and delete these as well. So to show you how to save a message as draft, let's go back to the publisher. At the bottom, you might have noticed that next to the publish is a save as draft. So if you have a completed post and you aren't quite ready to send it, you can save it as a draft and come back to it later and publish it then. To do that, you would just go back to the message manager, go back to your drafts folder, select whatever message it was, and click on Edit. It's going to bring up the complete message exactly as you had it, and you'll be able to publish at that time. There's a robust reports platform built into Sociamonials for all of your published social messages. And I want to show you how to do that now. We're going to click on the report button on the left side. The default is published messages. So within the published messages reports, there are two views. You have a chart view and a data view, and you toggle between those here. Default is the chart view, but users can switch between chart and data view as their default view within your options up here with the little gear icon if you're a sub-user. So I'm going to switch over to data view and show you that first. This is essentially just a raw data rendering of all of the messages that you've sent. It's a great way to archive your messages, and you can always click on the export to CSV and have a nice Excel file with all of your messages as well as the performance. So you'll notice to the right we have comments, retweets, leads, sales, revenue information for each one of your previous posts, and of course the clicks. Switching back to chart view, this is obviously much more graphical, and it gives you kind of an at-a-glance view of how your posts have been doing and trending. Before we move on, I want to show you some of the filters. You can filter for only the Facebook network, LinkedIn, Twitter, or YouTube. So for the purposes of this demo, I'm just going to show you all social media networks. We can also limit this by date range. I'll choose all dates for this demo. Another important feature is all posts. So this is a nice filter if you have a very particular message that you wanted to take a closer look at and look at the KPIs just for that particular message to see how much revenue it generated and other conversion information. So you can select that here and filter by that, but for purposes of this demo, I'm going to leave it at all posts. You can also export to PDF or send this report to the printer. So the next step is to choose our metrics. These are the default metrics here, and this is what appears down below in this chart. So what I'm going to do is add a couple of metrics. I want to know how many white paper downloads I've had off of each one of these, as well as the revenue. So the difference between revenue and sales is the number of sales you've had. Revenue is the dollar amount. And also shares and retweets. So this stacked bar graph shows you each one of the messages. So what I'm looking at here as I hover over this, this is a message, and not only the message, but it tells you the published date and the number of referred visits you've had for each one. So you can hover over this and kind of at a glance see how well it's done. And these are just a number of test messages we've sent over the years. So what I can do, and the reason we've done this sort here, this arrange, is for you to track trends. I'm going to click on message length. For a typical corporation, you'll have a much more steady change here, but since this is a test account, just bear with me. If you switch to message length, what that does is it's going to sort all of your posts within the date range by the length of the message. And by length, I mean the character count. So you can get an idea for which ones do better. Are messages that are shorter in length resonating more with my audience? Is the engagement rate higher? Is the revenue higher on longer messages? It just helps you refine your social program and determine with your specific audiences like what is resonating with them versus trying to read a blog post somewhere and figure out what best practices are for an entire industry. So you might want to check on that periodically and just see if any trends are emerging where the longer ones are performing better. I'm going to switch back to date, and that's going to make this a chronological with the latest ones at the end. I can zoom in by drag selecting, and it will show me only the posts within that range. So that's it. I'm going to, and of course you can bring this back to the entire one by clicking the zoom out feature. The next chart we show here is going to be a trend line, and this is over time. You can kind of see how each of these KPIs are doing versus having it a bar chart for each one of your posts. So these are pre-selected KPIs. We can see the revenue trend here. We can also see the trend for our referred visits here, and notice if I hover over each one of these data points, it tells me specifically what the data point amount is and what the date was. Going down to the last section, which I call the KPIs, these are key performance indicators for the date range selected. So if I change the date range, it's going to change these numbers. And what's significant about the KPI section is it breaks everything out by social network. So it's very nice to see at a glance where are my visits coming from and where is my revenue coming from. If you're a business-to-business company, you might see LinkedIn bringing in the highest number of revenue and white paper downloads, but Twitter and Facebook bringing in more traffic. And the reason that's important to you as a marketer is if you are paying for advertising, for example, if you're promoting these posts, you might want to put more money behind what's generating the bottom line results versus what at first glance is bringing in the most traffic. You can also look at which network is bringing in the most engagement for you and comments, likes and favorites, things like that. Note that conversions is basically revenue, sales, and leads all rolled up into one. So if you have a sale or a white paper download, it's going to count those as conversions. Engagement is another top level number that shows you the number of likes and favorites, plus your comments, plus your shares and retweets, all rolled up into one metric. Because this is a test account, obviously we have no engagements. One other feature I'd like to show you that correlates pretty directly with your publishing to social activity is the overview. What this report is going to show you is over time, and you can specify what that time is. I'm going to open it up a little bit here so we get a better average. It kind of gives you a big picture view of what's been working with your social programs. Again, you can filter this by network, date, and you can also filter by KPI. So let's say your boss is very eager to know what is generating leads, what is generating the white paper downloads for you within your network. So I'm going to select leads here. Now everything I see down below is what is generating leads. I can see the social network that has generated the most leads. Clearly in this example it's Twitter. I can see the source of those leads, and it's not just looking at publish messages, it's also looking at the share buttons we've deployed across our websites and other earned assets. It's also owned and earned assets. It's also showing us results from campaigns. So at a snapshot, I can see what's working. As you can see, campaigns have generated the most leads for us. That might give us some pretty keen insight on what we should focus our attention on for the next quarter if we need to hit a certain lead generation quota for our sales force. Campaign type, this is going to show us what type of campaign did the best, and a referral sweepstakes clearly did the trick for generating leads last quarter. Media type. If you are publishing a lot of videos, photos, and text, you can see right here what's been generating the most leads for you, and you might want to change your focus for the next quarter. If leads are your focus, you might want to send more text posts because clearly those have been bringing in the lion's share of the leads. So the message type, either a link or a video. There's other types that we haven't been using in our test account, which is photo. So if you have a link, message type, video, or photo type that you've been posting, you can see at a glance which has been bringing in the most leads. User posts, we don't have any sub-user accounts on our test account, but let's say you have 5 people on your team that are using the publish to social feature. You would be able to see at a glance which one of those users is bringing in the most leads with their post. So you might be able to have them educate the other users on how they've been doing that, or you might go into the detailed publishes message report and look at their posts and see what is unique about those posts that your other team members could benefit from learning about. This shows you 2 views, total and average. Since there's only one user, I'm going to show you the average feature over on the message type. When I switch over to average, there's not enough data in here to create an average. What the average will do is show you what the average link and video did for you. So basically, for the user posts, for example, let's say I have 3 people, and in total, if person 1 has sent 90% of the posts, the total value isn't really going to help because it's going to count up all of the leads that person has generated. But if you want to kind of even the playing field, you would check on average, and it's going to tell you the average number of leads per post for each of those users. So even users that haven't sent quite as many as the person that sent the most posts, clicking average will show you, pretty much who has been generating the most leads per post. So that's it. Thank you.